friends. It's been a minute. Welcome back to Horrible Book Club. I have been away for a hot second. I have been reading a lot and working a lot, and I just got a new puppy. I'll put pictures on the screen somewhere. So between work and everything that life has to offer in the year of 2025 and trying to potty train a puppy, I've not had time to make a video, and I'm sorry, but we're doing it right now. For this video, instead of focusing on one book, I'm going to go through every book that I've read so far in 2025, the good, the bad, the smutty. We're going to go through all of it. I'm going to rate it. You can read it if you want to. General disclaimer for this video, I have opinions, you have opinions. It's okay if they don't match. That's fine. I read bad books for my own entertainment. I think it's fun. If you don't, that is okay. This might not be the video for you, but I'm also going to talk about good books that I've read so far this year. To start the year off, I went through a Frida McFadden phase. She writes very interesting books. I did a video on one book of hers already called The Teacher. Her books have a signature, really shitty plot twist at the end of all of them that don't make sense, and it's horrible. So let's start with The Crash was the first book that I read in 2025. The Crash is about a young girl who is pregnant. She gets into a car accident and some guy comes and picks her up and then brings her to his house because there's not a hospital nearby or something. His wife has been traumatized by going through her own infertility and sees him bring home this young pregnant gal and decides in her head that she's going to keep her in the basement and steal her child.
Why are you running?
So she locks her up for a while. Long story short, she ends up getting out. She goes to the hospital. Everything's good and dandy except for the trauma, and the McFadden plot twist of fuckery that happens at the end is that her brother was the one trying to kill her this entire time and helped facilitate cutting her brake lines, and that the crazy lady that kidnapped her and tried to steal her baby ends up adopting the neighbor girl because her husband killed her dad. You know? You do you. This book was okay. It kept me entertained. It was interesting. I was invested, but the ending pissed me right the fuck off. I gave it a 2 out of 5 on Goodreads. Second book I read of 2025 is called The Coworker by Frida McFadden. This book is about a very odd lady who works in an office who is oddly obsessed with turtles for some reason.
I like turtles. All right.
There's also a coworker that works there that is like the popular girl, and the popular coworker is framed for her murder, essentially. Turns out the weird turtle coworker faked her death and has been setting the popular girl up for her murder, and has also been screwing her boyfriend this entire time because the popular girl drove her best friend in high school to commit unaliving herself, and honestly, not interesting. It was really boring, didn't make any sense. 0 out of 5, to be honest with you. The third and final Frida McFadden book that I read is called Never Lie. Out of all of them, this was probably my favorite, but it also pissed me off the most. Never Lie is about a young couple going to view a house in the middle of the woods in the middle of a blizzard. They get there, the realtor is not there, so they decide to stay in this house that still has electricity and food in the fridge for some reason. The girlfriend keeps hearing noises and is convinced that someone is inside of the house, and the boyfriend is gaslighting her and telling her that she's crazy. The house belonged to a psychiatrist that mysteriously went missing, and the girlfriend finds a bunch of recordings of all the sessions that they had with the patients. One of them is about a guy who like stalked her and was trying to blackmail her into continuing to see him as a patient because she didn't want to see him as a patient anymore. Long story short, they end up finding out that the psychiatrist's boyfriend, who was assumed for her murder, is living in the attic. And then they also find a body under the floorboards. And then it's revealed out of nowhere, even though the POV of this book was from the girlfriend the entire time, that she's actually a murderer and was one of the psychiatrist's patients. And the psychiatrist enlisted the girlfriend to kill the patient that was stalking her. That's the body that's under the floorboards. And then the girlfriend was like, well, I can't have someone knowing that I murdered someone, and murdered the psychiatrist and like buried her in the woods somewhere. And then the couple moves in and then they have a kid, and happily ever after, I guess. 2 out of 5. What? The next book I read was called Intercepts by T.J. Payne. Bear with me, I liked this book. So this book is about a dude who is like the head of a secret government facility. The secret government facility is delivered people who have had their senses wiped from them. They keep them in a room with like a gas that deprives you of all of your senses, and they're not supposed to know who they are or what's going on or anything like that. So these like husks of people that are called intercepts are used to somehow they like go into the mind of government enemies or something and like tell them where they're at and secret information. Does the science make sense? Absolutely not. Was it interesting? Absolutely. So one of the intercepts at this facility somehow starts taking over the mind of this dude's daughter and driving her to want to krill herself.
That's true. And the other thing is, my sister had a baby, and I took it over because she passed away, and then the baby lost its legs and its arms, and now it's nothing but a stump.
And says that the only way that she will stop is if he like sets her free. So he breaks in and unalives her to set her free, but somehow before she was unalived, she taught all of the other intercepts in the facility how to do what she did, so they like all start moving around and stuff, which they're not supposed to be able to do. It's a murderous, gratuitous showdown of blood and gore, and it was lovely. Very good book, very interesting, very thriller. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I liked it anyway. 4 out of 5. So next I read The Silent Patient. If you haven't read it yet, I'm surprised. I'm surprised I didn't read it sooner, to be honest with you. The Silent Patient is about a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, I don't know, technicalities, I don't know. He goes to a new facility specifically to start treating this famous patient. She was a famous artist who was accused of killing her husband, and after his death, she never uttered a single word. So he goes to this facility and starts treating her, trying to get her to talk, giving her art supplies, whatever. Throughout the book, it also switches to his home life activities and the patient's journal entries. In the patient's journal entries, she is scared about a guy that is stalking her, like a figure just watching their house. In the guy's personal life chapters, it is about him finding out that his wife is cheating on him and following the man that she's cheating on him with around. Plot twist at the end is that the personal life chapters of the therapist are in the past, and the guy that his wife is cheating on him with is the patient's husband. So the person that she had been seeing watching their house was actually the therapist that she is now in session with. The therapist had broken into their house, tied her up, and then waited for her husband to come home and then asked him if he wants to die or if he wants him to kill his wife. And he said, I don't want to die. So then he left the patient there with the gun, and then she shot her husband, and they're in like cahoots now. I don't know. It was bonkers. 3 out of 5. After that book, I found one of my favorite authors of all time who almost solely writes monster fucker smut, and it is the best thing that I have yet to find in 2025. Emily Antoinette is one of my favorite authors now. I am not going to go too into detail about the books that I read by her because I want you to go read them because I love them. Emily Antoinette writes smut how I wish all of the smut that I've recounted on my channel was written. It is all body sizes inclusive, all people of color inclusive, all like gender identities, sexual orientation inclusive. It is lovely. Anything to do with BDSM is heavily consensual and talked about in a non-creepy way, and it is one of my favorite things ever. The first one I read was called Man Eater. It's about a little witch twink who somehow stumbles into a sexual summoning of a succubus who does not want to be there, so he saves her, and then they have kinky dommy mommy relations, and it's amazing. The second one I read was called Escaping the Friend Zone. I don't like that one quite as much, but it's still really, really good. It is about a plus-size girl falling in love with her brother's minotaur best friend, and then they have like a dom-sub relationship. It's lovely. I also read Behold Her and Afterglow, which by the way, all of these books are like in the same universe. Characters make appearances. They're all connected. It's so good. I love it. It's amazing. Afterglow is about a girl who had just gone through a divorce, enlisting her vampire of color friend to teach her about BDSM lifestyle, and then they fall in love and they have kinky lesbian relations together. It's awesome and I love it. Please go read them if that sounds like something you're into. I really enjoyed them. it was a nice break from the creepy what people think BDSM is and how most like TikTok dark romances are. It was awesome. Up next, I read That's Not My Name by Megan Lally, I think is Lally, I don't know. So this book is about a teenage girl who goes missing in a small town and everyone assumes that her boyfriend had something to do with it. It alternates POVs between the boyfriend whose girlfriend went missing and a girl who woke up on the side of the road with no memory. The girl that woke up on the side of the road with no memory was found by a cop and he brought her to the station. Some dude showed up, said that he was her dad, and showed like pictures of her when she was younger and stuff, so the cop let her go with him. The teenage boy and his best friend and the missing girl's best friend, who is also the sheriff's daughter, start going on a mission to find this girl because the sheriff will not believe anything other than the boyfriend did it. So they break into his office and steal the tip line recordings and find one that leads them to another town. In the other POV, the girl is starting to realize that a lot of things aren't making sense. She's starting to remember some things about her life that do not line up with this dude that said that he's her dad. And so he puts her in his basement essentially and chains her up and is convinced that she is his daughter. These teenage kids get to this town, find the girl, and it is not the one that they were looking for, but she looks exactly like the girl that they've been looking for. The guy had lost his daughter and had started kidnapping girls that look like her, and when they do not play along, he schmurders them. 5 out of 5 stars. It made me cry. I'm not explaining it as good as it deserves. Please go read it. It's pretty good. So that is what I have read so far in the year 2025. We are 3 months in now. It is March 1st. I have not read as much as I wanted to. I fully intend on getting back into the swing of things and making more videos. If you have a book you want me to read, there will be a Google form down in the description, as well as a link to my Facebook and other social media platforms. Please let me know what you have read this year. I am in need of some good books, some bad books, a little bit of everything. If you like this video, you can like, subscribe, comment, all that nonsense really helps and I appreciate you. I'll see you next time.